And good morning, and welcome to another episode of Think and Grow Rich MasterMind Live. Good morning. My name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Builder, helping to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And I'm very excited. Well, I guess I'm always excited to be here with each and every one of you, but especially to be here with my co host every single Saturday, sharing with all of you these phenomenal principles from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But today is another special day because we have a very special host, co host, and guest presenter, none other than my friend Joe Pici, but we'll talk about him in just a moment. Right now, what I'd like to do is just share with you who we are, what we do, but why we do it. And what we're doing today is we're continuing the conversation about your subconscious mind. Did you realize that your subconscious mind really is the connecting link? And the question we asked earlier is it the eighth step to riches? Do you know? If you do know, please put it in the chat. We want to continue to welcome you and ask you to please comment, like, and share the show, but also subscribe to our YouTube channel. But the subconscious mind, it is said that it does not know the difference between what's true and what's false. It only knows what you tell it over and over and over again, and or what you allow others to tell it over and over and over again. And I keep referring to it as an it because it really is something that you really don't recognize. You can't put your finger on, you can't touch it, but you know that it's there. And the way you know that it's there is because it is controlling your every desire. It is showing your every fear and every impulse of thought. But you can determine exactly what you desire by telling it through affirmation statements or prayers or whatever you determine voluntarily you want to call it. But the subconscious mind works day and night, whether you realize it or not. Oftentimes, you hear people talk about controlling somebody else's mind, and you think not much of it. But subliminally, we are all being controlled by advertisers every single day, every single moment of the day, and we don't realize it. And so they're controlling us with and sometimes without our permission. Now, with those thoughts in mind, let me bring on and introduce to you our co host, and then we're going to introduce to you our special guest. Then we will go through our commercial for the 13 steps, and then we'll come back and have an awesome conversation. If you would like to participate in this conversation, please place your comments or questions in the chat. All right, so first, let me share with you my co host. I'll start with Dr. Peter James, then I go to Begin, and then go to Galen. Good morning, Dr. James. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Ann McNeil, the wealth builder, the master wealth builder. I actually, if you say that enough, you will inject that into your subconscious as well. Am I correct?
Well, that's the idea.
Right. Excited to be here with you all this morning, and grand morning to you all. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. I'm hoping that today you are looking to shift your mindset above all that is being injected into your mindset. And every day, as Ann just mentioned, we are inundated with messages into our subconscious. Oftentimes, we don't even know these messages are coming in. So, whether it's the television, whether it's the radio, whether it's your streaming radio from your music, whether it is the media or social media that you may peruse through just on a regular basis, or maybe it's just your phone and all the different apps that are there, what are the messages that are seeping in that sometimes you don't even know? And then when you don't know, where are they going? What's happening? Oh, I'm not paying attention to them. They don't affect me. Oh, we think they don't, but they do. And they intentionally do. So now what are you doing to overcome those messages that come into you subconsciously, unconsciously, right? I I am intentional about not trying to let those messages define who I am. And sometimes it's negativity coming in, defining who we are, about people, about certain types of people. And so now I'm excited to dive into this conversation today to identify those for you, to overcome those for you, and hear how Joe does it for himself. I'm so excited for this conversation, and I guess we have some other co-hosts with us as well, don't we?
I don't listen at the rate you're going. I don't know.
I'm
All
ready. I'm
right,
ready.
Begin. I think you may need to come to the rescue here. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. This is, one of the things that's so exciting about this show and this Saturday is that we are here to not only infuse the audience with great messages filled with pure positive energy, but also to stay connected with ourselves to ensure that we are at our highest best, thinking the most positive, incredible thoughts. And this is why this show is really important because we end up teaching, talking about, sharing our experiences, strength, and hope regarding using Think and Grow Rich because Think and Grow Rich is truly the master book to be able to help you guide. And I want to read something here because today is a very timely day. It says, you may voluntarily plant in your subconscious mind any plan, thought, or purpose which your desire to translate into its physical or monetary equivalent. The subconscious the subconscious acts first on the dominating desire, which has been mixed with emotional feeling such as faith. Well, today, I love when sometimes Facebook gives a reminder. And today I got a reminder about something I did in 2017 that shifted my business. I just wanted to read that. I wrote just a few minutes ago, graduating from a year-long program from the SBA for million-dollar businesses who were hit hard for some reason. Susie Lemon, our facilitator, kicked my butt and totally changed my business. Out of the 17 people that started this program, only three of us graduated. Only three of us stayed. But I'm so clear that the reason was the three of us were in our own mastermind and we were constantly infusing ourselves with high level thinking, commentary. I wrote back in 2017, so many times I contemplated quitting. So many times I was so stressed and tense. Financials, HR, marketing, sales, dashboards, ratios, cash flow, bankers, presentations, getting deeper into the business plan and systems. This was not for wimps. The subconscious mind allows us to teach ourselves how we want to talk to ourselves. We teach the subconscious mind really to tell ourselves what we really want. And we spend a lot of time allowing others to have their negative input. We spend a lot of time having others, including ourselves, think negative messages. When is this going to happen? Where's the money? Where is the business? Where's the sales? Which is why I'm really excited about Joe being here because in our lives, all of us are selling, but how you think about yourself transforms the results that you have. And there's somebody that I just love being with. When I listen to him on his podcast of whiskey, jazz, and leadership, he just uplifts me all the time. So let me bring in my friend Galen, bring in one of our hosts, because Galen, tell me about your experiences with the subconscious.
I'll tell you. Well, first of all, excited to be here. Thank you so much. This is, and I'm going to say it again, this is going to be an exciting conversation because I had an experience that I talk about quite a lot, and I still don't know how this happens. Someone continues to sneak into my study. They pulled down this book and they insert language into this book that was clearly not here before. It was just not here before. Not only that, but they underlined the very words that they inserted into the book. They underlined them and put asterisks by the words. And in this version, it's on page 213. And this just hit me today like a ton of bricks. And I'm going to read this to you. It says, the subconscious mind will not remain idle. If you fail to plant desires in your subconscious mind, it will feed upon the thoughts which reach it as a result of neglect. And so if you buy into this language that someone just inserted into my book, you might be thinking, how in the world then can I plant the thoughts in my mind, in my subconscious mind, that I actually want it to feed upon? Well, it talks about that too on the previous page. It says very clearly, make your desires clear and reduce them to writing. That's all you need to do. That's really all you need to do. There's a couple of other things you could do, but the one thing you need to do is very similar to what Pegeen said. You can create a business plan. You can do like Ms. Ann talks about all the time, as far as being very clear about your desire and affirmations, that kind of thing. But this book says that all you need to do is make your desires clear and reduce them to writing. And remember that your subconscious mind functions voluntarily, whether you put effort into programming it or not. This is going to be a really, really exciting conversation. I'm just meeting Joe for the first time, but I love his energy already. He reminds me of another sales guru that I worked with a few years back. And a little shout out to Bill Caskey. Bill Caskey said, "Your inside game controls your outside game." And I am just so excited to hear what Joe contributes to that conversation. Let's get in.
All right. So with that being said, let me ask all of you this question. Do you want to make more money? Do you want to increase your sales? Do you want to increase your retention internally and externally? Well, if you do, let me introduce to you the person, the man, the leadership expert when it comes to sales and closing sales. My friend, our special guest today, Joe Pici. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me in. I'm so excited about this because I always like being around people that are smarter than me.
Uh-oh, here we go. Let me tell everybody who Joe is. Joe Pici is this year's recipient of the coveted #1 sales trainer ranking by global gurus internationally, and his sales development was voted best in the world. Joe has functioned as a catalyst for sales teams and individuals. And I can personally say I am a witness. And every few years I go back and I recommit myself to participate in his sales programs and sharpen the axe, as Zig Ziglar's remind us in his awesome books. But starting in 1992, he studied and applied a cutting edge, I want to call it sales philosophy and different sales techniques to help his clients. But Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, especially how you was introduced to this phenomenal philosophy and when?
Well, first of all, Dawn and I got started in the personal growth, professional growth, and development world in 1992 through conventions and knowing we were making a transition from employee to entrepreneur. And one of the first books I ever read was Think and Grow Rich. And it hit me in the face. You know, this book had such great content. So since 1992, when we made that turn from employee to entrepreneur, we have been on this quest to think, to grow, to understand the power of the messaging that came into our head, which would translate into the messaging we took to the marketplace.
Well, Joe, you know, that's easier said than done. But what but what our audience would like to know though is from this particular principle, can you share maybe one concept or one uh, part of the principle that resonates with you more than any other as a part of the subconscious mind, and possibly how do you use it to transfer your desire into reality?
Because of what I do, and I work with people in the way of entrepreneurs, business owners, sales professionals, professional speakers, whatever, anybody that wants to grow their business, I deal with their biggest fear, which is sales. So what I had to do is I had to master the idea of my subconscious mind. And then I had to be able to translate that into my clients, whether they're big companies, individuals, whatever. And what I found, the secret to what I found was this. When you program the subconscious mind, and programming is a major factor. I mean, you know, the doctor said it, okay, the programming part of this. But the thing that I've learned more than anything is if you do not execute on the input into your subconscious mind doesn't know humor, sarcasm. It's only black and white. It knows true and untrue. So the minute the subconscious mind says, if you want that, you must do this, and we don't do this, we lose all sense of belief. So it's that translation piece of the input of the subconscious mind to actual activity is where I live.
All right, all right, all right. Well, we're going to go a little deeper in this conversation, but before we do that, we're going to ask Dr. Peter James if he would share how do these principles connect with each other. And we do have a winner, the person that was first to say, what number is this really? So we want to thank all of you that's joining in, Doretha, Laverne, everybody in the chat. But thank you, Doretha, for letting us know that this subconscious mind principle is actually the 11th step in this philosophy. But Dr. Peter James is going to come back and share with us how they connect with each other in that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anne. These 13 principles, 13 steps are, again, the backbone of this Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And for those of you who need a little background, Napoleon Hill befriended Andrew Carnegie years ago. And in this friendship, Andrew Carnegie encouraged Napoleon Hill to, hey, seek out the greatest business leaders and entrepreneurs of that time and find out from them what made them, what allowed them to become self-made millionaires, successful and very wealthy. So he interviewed Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, Henry Ford, and asked them question after question about how they were able to maintain and sustain success as they defined it. And from these interviews, from these conversations, Napoleon Hill was able to narrow this down to 13 steps that didn't just focus on wealth building, but as was mentioned earlier from Anne, building what's going on in the inside before it manifests on the outside. So let's go ahead and take a listen to these 13 steps and reflect on how it has benefited individuals in the past and now how it can benefit you here in the present and the future.
Number one is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the MasterMind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right. We are back. And let's bring back actually all of our co-hosts and our special guests, because what I'd like to do is have each one of us just share one desire that you've actually demonstrated using your subconscious mind. Let me give you an example. I had a desire to want to learn how to sell, literally, to make more money. But I did not know how, but I had the desire. Went to a conference, National Speakers Association conference in 2008. Ran into a friend. Can't remember her name right now, but she was at the conference and she convinced me to attend a conference with her for someone that she signed up with and introduced me to Joe Pici. Now, I want to make the connecting link here visual. I had a desire, and that desire, through the auto suggestion of talking about it, writing about it in my goals, manifested itself through an introduction to Joe Pici. Now, the rest is my story, but this is about Joe Pici and his story and the power of the subconscious mind and how I now know how to intentionally program my mind through this philosophy to achieve that which I desire. Sometimes it takes a very long time, and sometimes it comes very quickly. So my question, Joe, starting with you, and then I'm going to go to each of our co-hosts to share, because I think it's very important for all of our guests to really understand. We have people listening to us all over the world, and they really want to understand, how do you go from a desire, and we'll talk about money, because again, oftentimes we can have material things that we desire, and that material thing may require money to achieve it. And a lot of times people don't like to talk about money, but for many years I couldn't understand why Napoleon Hill started the book off with the 6 steps. And even this chapter of the subconscious mind takes us back to autosuggestion, and that takes us back to what is it that you want? Because if you don't have a desire that you are going to document that you desire, what good is the subconscious mind and learning how to use it? So, Joe, can you give us an example? And then I'm going to go to Dr. Peter, then Pekin, and then Galen. Can you give us an example of a desire you had and how this principle helped you to achieve it?
Yeah, January 2020, we had already set our number goal to be in 7 figures in our speaking, coaching, training company, and everything was lined up, and we had 3 verticals by which we could deliver. February 25th, in 25 minutes, we lost $85,000, but the desire was there. So by not changing the desire, but going into what did we want? We wanted a consistent 7-figure income. What were we going to do? We was going to have to re-examine all of the methods of what we did. We began to talk about it, but it doesn't take Dawn and I long to talk through things. We put our plan of action in place. Within 3 weeks, we made all our money back. But what we put in place in those 3 weeks, launching Sell More virtually, literally we went from 3 verticals that we could deliver. We now have 10 verticals. We are on course to hit that desire.
I so appreciate you, Joe, right now for what you said. I knew in 2017 that what I was doing in my business and the impact that it was happening was taking me off course of my mission, which is why I knew that I had a very specific desire. I really wanted to ensure that I was working with women leaders and women in business who wanted to make money, to be bold, be brave, be seen, be heard, and be paid well. And investing in that course, spending a year, enabled me to see this desire that I wanted and the money that I wanted to generate doing the service would be impacted by how I was writing my plan, what I was executing. And I also knew, and it was my plan in 2017, I wanted it online. I absolutely knew that that was something critically important to me. And I will tell you that my real conference, which was March 25th, 2019, was going to be live. And that live conference, even though I was putting things out, we were planning it, we weren't getting the registrations. When we decided to go virtual, that plan, that focus, that determination made that online first Power Women gathering a huge success, because we had women now who could join us from around the world. They couldn't fly in before. They just didn't have the capacity to do that. But now that it was virtual, we were able to expand and reach and influence and impact the women that attended. And through that, the business has continued to grow. We've been able to do all virtual business. We had one of our most successful years in 2019, and definitely this year, we are surpassing all the numbers that I had put in a plan back in 2017. It was the constant focus on what was I thinking, what was I focusing on, and where am I headed. And now I'm really solidifying my desires now. What was happening with you, Galen?
Oh my gosh. I can't identify just one thing, but I did have this experience just last week. My wife and I met in 1993, and we married in 1995, and we were kind of going through some old files, some old books last week, and I came across this book that it was kind of a journal that we attended one of those crazy marriage council, get off to a great start type programs. And they said, write and identify the goals that you have, the goals that you'd like to achieve in your marriage for the next 20 years or so. And we just started writing all kinds of crazy things that we wanted to achieve individually as well as a couple. We talked about the kids that we wanted to have. I talked about, the degrees that I wanted to have, and all these crazy. I wanted to be a business owner. And this is interesting. I wrote, I don't want to be a king. I want to be a king maker. I wanted to have influence all over the world. And we wrote this in 1996 and tucked it away on our shelf and didn't find it until this past week. And as we reflected on this, because we wrote this down, I can now reflect on my life and all these things that we wrote as being incredibly aspirational over 20 years ago. These are laughable because we've accomplished the exact same thing. I wanted to have a business. I've now had two businesses. I wanted to have influence all over the world. And literally last week, I spoke at a global conference for executive coaches on the power of emotional intelligence and having that kind of influence. So just the simpleness of the details in Napoleon Hill's book was bared out in this thing that we wrote. Literally, we wrote this down and forgot all about it, and that was over 20 years ago. Now, as we read these goals, it's laughable how easy these were to achieve, looking back over our life. And just another example of how simple, clear, and important these principles are.
Yeah, good stuff, Galen. So many different ways that I can look into my past and see how I was able to impact my own subconscious mind. One really comes to mind, though. And years ago, before 2008, I was in sales and marketing, large global pharmaceutical firm out of London. And 2008 happened. And if many of you remember back then, around that time, there was a global economic bubble. Housing crisis hit the financials markets pretty seriously. And it almost affected every single industry that I'm aware of. And so again, my industry was not unaffected, was definitely affected by this as well. And my organization decided to have a reorganization, a layoff of sorts. And after the first one, I looked and watched my colleagues around me getting laid off. And I said to myself, wow, if the organization can lay off my colleagues, it can certainly lay me off as well. But I have a family, and I got to put in my mind into the universe also that I cannot let any one firm dictate where my next check is coming from. And so I made up in my mind, I wrote it down that I will not let that happen again. And as a result, I became a gardener. I started gardening. And so it's not gardening in the sense that you all are thinking of, because I definitely do not have a green thumb. But what I became adept at is planting seeds in all of the right places and continuing to do so, even until this day. I was talking to a gentleman last night, and whether it was through networking or building relationships or, meeting with clients or meeting with future employers, I was able to learn how to plant seeds effectively and efficiently, and then watch how they manifest and grow. And so I was able to put out into the universe what I was not going to let happen again, but also how I was going to overcome that. So now those of you who are watching, what are some things that you are seeping into your subconscious that you don't want to be there? And now how will you switch that narrative to put into your subconscious the things that need to be there so they can manifest appropriately? So good stuff. And this was a good question you posed to all of us.
All right. All right. Well, the reason I did that is because I want us to understand that this principle shows us that everything that each of you have discussed and our audience is thinking, everything begins in the form of a thought impulse, and that each of us can create nothing which does not first exist in our thoughts. So, through the use of imagination and through using hunches, impulses, these feelings that we have, we create plans to achieve that desire. And I want to just remind all of our listeners that may have just joined us that we're talking to our guest today, Joe Pici, and I keep calling him my friend because he is, but he's also my business coach when it comes to sales. And Joe is also the um, I want to say co-author of the book Sell Naked on the Phone and Sell much, much, much more than you think you could ever sell. He is also the host of the popular Sales Edge podcast. And so, Joe, I want to bring you back to the front of this conversation and have you share with us. Actually, we're going to go through and have some questions by our co-hosts of you, but I also want you to share with us a little bit more about your journey, because we've not really talked about you yet in terms of, um, we started with how you found the book in terms of that, but just a little bit more about your life's journey. Because one of
Okay.
the other things that you and I have in common is we both came out of the same, we didn't know each other then, but we both came out of the same multi-level marketing organization, which has created some phenomenal people all over the world. And there's a connectedness there of the spirit, because the subconscious mind continues to affirm and confirm that whatever it is that we are planting, we're going to attract. We just don't know how it's going to show up. So
Right.
can you take us back a little bit
Yeah.
and just share with us
I'll
just a
uh,
little bit?
I'll give you a sprint through a part of my life that was transitional. Uh, I was a college football coach and got fired. We were $350,000 in medical debt. Had two babies at the house. Didn't know anything about business. And by mistake, we signed up in the Amway business. And whatever you think of multi-level marketing, a lot of multi-level marketing businesses have a secondary stream of information. They had a system of education where we got immersed in books and CDs. In those days, it was tapes and seminars and programming the subconscious mind. But what happened was knew nothing about sales. They weren't really teaching sales. They were teaching more relationship schmoozing, which is not my personality. So we developed our own sales approach and paid off all of our debt in 5 years. Went full-time and traveled the world on big keynote stages. And it was a great place to find out, number one, did we have what it took to run a business? And could Joe and Dawn Pici work together? Because we've been together 50 years. About 2003, 2004, we decided to leave that industry, even though we were very successful, and open up Pici and Pici as a speaking, coaching, training, consulting firm. Once again, looking for the area in the marketplace where we felt there was a gap, which was skill-based training. So we dove in and we created 80% of our training is skill-based, and I go back to 2008. So we started at 2003. In 2008, where we met Ann McNeil at an NSA conference where a lot of the big-time speakers, trainers, and coaches were really feeling a major dip in their income and in their businesses. And just because we didn't know what we didn't know, I looked at Dawn and I said, look, I'm not Les Brown. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not one of the elite, but we're tripling our income. What are we doing? Where we created the 8 non-negotiables of business success, which all started in our subconscious with a plan, an application. And that's how we have weathered every bad economy. That's how we've helped companies recapture lost revenue, even during this pandemic. So hopefully I gave you guys a little idea of the road that we've traveled.
Yes, but can you also share with us something that you do that's very different than other sales trainers? And I'm not going to give it away, but can you tell us what that is? I think you already know what that is.
Okay. Well, what makes us unique? Everybody has uniqueness. We're not better or not worse. But the most unique thing we do is during every training, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether I go into corporations, when people come into our boot camp, we do live outbound telephone call training on the spot in real time, booking real appointments. We usually go about 75% conversion to appointment. We get through 90% of the gatekeepers. We'll get return phone calls same day. It is a unique thing that has helped us really overcome all bad economies. And we've done all these boot camps even through COVID.
All right. Now, I know my co-hosts are sitting there thinking, me, I have a question. So I'm going to start with Galen first. Okay. Galen, your thoughts?
Yeah. So, one of the things I want to go back to is this idea, and the catchy phrase that I've locked onto for almost 15 years now, is that your inside game controls your outside game. And the thought behind that is if you've got these self-limiting beliefs, it really doesn't matter what you say, because that negative self-limiting belief is going to impact your outside game. So my question to you is, what are some things that you suggest that you do to make sure that those thoughts in your mind are more weighted positively than negative? How do you control your inside game so that you can have a positive impact on your outside game?
One of my favorite questions. I'm going to tell you something. Now, I'm a little radical and I'm old. I don't watch the news. I don't take in any outside stimulus that's negative. I mean, in the book, Think and Grow Rich, I mean, it's laden with programming. I program my mind. Every day of your life, you're forced to make choices and decisions. Your choices and decisions dictate your actions. Your actions deliver your results. But the single most important thing is how you think. So number one, what do I read? What do I listen to? What do I watch? Okay. Number, who do I spend time with when I get the choice? We all have clients that may not think like us, and that's okay. But when I get to choose, I love being on this mastermind because I know all of you, and I'm not patronizing you, and I'm not blowing smoke. I'm incapable of that. You're smarter than me. When I can get around people that are smarter than me, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm going to surround. But then the last thing that I'm very careful of, if I'm going to give my mind to anyone, I don't care if it's free coaching, free training, or fee coaching, free training, I'm going to vet who I'm listening to. I am never going to rent my mind out to somebody I don't vet. Those are 4 things that I do, and I work with my coaching clients on to build their mindset.
Oh my, that's perfect. I love that you're talking about mindset. That reminds me of another person that talks about shifting their mindset. Dr. Peter, you gotta love this. You gotta love this conversation, man.
I am all in, Galen. I am all in, Joe. Thank you so much for even just allowing me to reflect on what that looks like in my life right now too. What am I continuing to let in or seep into my subconscious that I don't need to? The other thing that I love about this chapter, this principle there too, Joe, is things that we do let into our subconscious intentionally. We also need to develop habits, good habits, as a result of the subconscious and what we're letting into the subconscious. What does that look like from a sales process? Again, now thinking about what you are doing to your subconscious, but now what are you repetitively doing in order to help shift the thought process, shift your subconscious to thinking and then ultimately acting and behaving the right way? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I don't believe in charisma and talent for a way to grow a business or to sell. I believe sales or business development, it's processes, skills, messaging, and communications, which can all be taught and it can be repeated. One thing it said in Think and Grow Rich a number of times was the key to habits. I'm very ritualist. I get up at 3:30 every morning because I'm a nutcase. Okay. I get on a stationary bike and I drink 16 ounces of lemon water. And right across from me is a computer, and I choose what's on there in a way of a video. I begin to program my mind. In my office, it says war room. Okay, because that's what it is. It's a war room. And so I'm trying to teach my sales mentees, companies, to become very habitual in their process, in their daily habits. I do 99% of our speaking, coaching, and training now. Dawn works with me on the speaker school, and she works with people on LinkedIn, but I do all the training. I also do all the selling. So I have to be very good about priority and time management and staying very much into a ritual and habit-based life. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that was solid there. Again, just first of all, you had me at 3:30 a.m. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. I can't do that. But even outside of that, what I heard from you also is that you're creating the environment to affect your subconscious also. That's what I heard loud and clear.
Yeah, and to that note, our 3-day sales boot camp, and I'm not saying this because we create an atmosphere. We create a culture in that room that by the 3rd day, the success we have is a byproduct of everything else we've put in place. You see, the greatest coaches, whether they're athletic or business, do not focus on results. They focus on processes. And the process dictates the results, but you can win in a process. You can't win always with results.
Good stuff. Good stuff there, Joe. Appreciate that. Pegeen, I know you're itching. I know this is right up your alley. So let me just zip it up a little bit and pass the baton.
So I'm just so happy to be with you, Joe. I come from sales, and I had a sales manager who I adored. I used to sell well, I sold a lot of things, but your focus on habits and process and just keeping going on is so critically important. So there are 2 things that were popping up as you were talking. I want to talk about that is there's a lot of times where I'm talking to people and I'm telling them, you got to here's the process. You've got to get on the call. You've got to make the phone call. What sometimes slips in is, and I know people watching this happens to them, is how do I manage my life for my vision of my sales? How do I make sure that I'm not feeling like this is everything all encompassing? How do you use your subconscious to ensure that obviously you have a rich life? I've been married 39 years. We work together. We've been together for all that time. So I understand the relationship that develops as business partner, marriage, friend, lover, right? I'm really curious. How do you help people stay focused on their sales process and have a life?
Okay. I have a system I created because I got sick and tired of making stupid decisions. It's called priority management. Priority management comes before time management. And so it's so much lines up with chapter 2. Everything we do has to start with the end in mind. Now, once we have what it is we want, when we want it, and why we want it, that creates a clarity. Until you have that, you cannot run a balanced life, run a balanced business. Once we have that clarity, now we move into a plan of action. And so a person like me tries to teach people, when somebody comes at you with something, ask yourself this question: is this the best use of my time towards my objective? Now, if you can create those verticals in the different facets of your life, then all of a sudden you become extremely focused on the end result, whether it's losing weight, building a relationship, having a great spiritual life, having a great business, selling. It's all the same, that everything has to start with priority management. We don't get to the skills until the bottom. And most people get so inundated with fears over picking up the phone. Well, number one, they're not prepared. They don't have a good script. But what really happens is they don't tie those activities into the end result. Did I answer your question, Pici?
You sure did. And you absolutely sure did, because and I love it so much, because sometimes two kinds of people. One are driven people who forget that there are priorities in their life and they choose only one. And then number two is people who want to be driven, but their fears stop them. What if I lose this? What if I lose that? What if I do that? So I really appreciate how you spoke about it. And I am going to tell you that I'm signing in as soon as we finish. I'll be going to your Sell More virtually, because one of the things that I love about you is that you clearly understands systems, process, sales. Part of my company is running professional role players so people can practice how to be leaders and influence, impact in others. We have 50 role players that we bring in at some of our experiences. So I totally get the practice and seeing it, and I love it, love it, love it. So I'm very excited to be signing up, and look forward to a phone call with you.
Oh,
Yay.
we will definitely be on the phone. And let me just say this. I think one more thing I will say. When Dawn and I decided to do what we're doing, we made a promise. We would never speak, coach, train on anything we don't do to grow our own business. I personally make 150 outbound calls every week to new clients. The only thing we train and coach on is what we've mastered and what we've proven works.
And existing clients. Let me add my name to that list. So before we move forward, I want to bring Galen back, because we've been talking about many goals in different areas and priority management and systems. And one of the things that we do here for the International MasterMind Association is that we have an annual meeting for your life. Galen, can you share some information about that?
Yeah, I mean, the annual meeting for your life is probably the single most impactful thing you can do if you are serious about achieving the next level in your life. And I'm not talking about the next level in the life that I think you need to have, or the next level in the life that Ms. Ann believes that you need to have. We've got some suggestions, but it's your life. This is a place where you will go and you will meet with like-minded people, and they're going to ask you to put your life in writing. Detail those goals that you have for the upcoming year. Detail the plan that you've got in place in order to achieve those goals. But then, more importantly, give an account for what you did for the last 365 days. What goals did you have last year, and what actions did you take in order to achieve those goals? And it's that level of transparency, that level of intimacy, that level of accountability that really gives you the energy and the focus and the relationships to follow through on my favorite coaching to my clients: either do it or stop talking about it. Either do it or stop talking about it. We meet every year in Boca Raton. This upcoming year, we're going to meet January 7th and 8th in the Embassy Suites there in Boca Raton. I have already purchased my tickets. I'm going to be there. Last year, we held that conference virtually, but it was kind of a hybrid. Even before hybrid was a thing, we had some people in person, some people online. But this is just such an important part of your success as a person that I would really encourage everyone to buy your tickets, plan to attend. It's an incredibly small investment. If it's going to help you achieve the goals that you say are important in your life.
Galen, thank you so much. I also want to give a shout out to everybody who's chiming in. We have Faith Focus, Brian, so many of you, Doretha, Lakeisha, Laverne, and so many of you. We want to say thank you for commenting, liking, and please share the show. And please also subscribe to our YouTube. We're going to go back around and have our co-hosts give their aha moment from this program today. And then we're going to have our guest share with us how we can reach him and what he's promoting.
Yeah,
Start with you.
I'll jump in there, and what I heard from there, Joe, is about the processes, the habits that he allows to inject into his subconscious. That really what resonates to me. Again, allowed me to reflect on my own daily activities to see, hey, what am I not allowing my subconscious to thrive on? And then what do I need to add to that process? So thank you so much for this opportunity, Joe, to chat with you. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames. Galen, what do you think? What were your aha moments?
Yeah, for me, it was just really the reinforcement of the importance of your environment and how can you create the environment that will allow you to be successful. Any of us can have a win on accident. We can each roll out of bed and go to the gas station and scratch a couple cards and win some money on accident. The question is, how can you be successful on purpose? And I'm going to submit, and I get this from Joe and from the book, you can't be successful on purpose without understanding the process for success and creating the environment that will allow you to be successful. Galen Bingham, the leadership strategist. There's so many ways to get a hold of me if you want to have a direct conversation. I'd love to talk with you. But the most fun way to get a hold of me is to go to any podcast platform and put in the search bar Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We have new episodes every Tuesday where we're talking to leaders in every walk of life about what it really takes to be successful. I double dog dare you to check us out at least once. Pagine, what about you?
I walk away reminding myself once again the power of the call, the power of, we can fill ourselves with great power of mind and strength and intention, and we could have process. However, reaching out to people and letting them know who we are And just having that process, rekindling the fire of doing that, that's what I got gained out of today. When the moment Joe said he made 150 calls, I was like, man, I used to do that. I didn't do that. I stopped doing that. And it's back. So I'm really excited about that. For everybody that's watching me, I am Pegeen. I lead Power Women Worldwide, where women are bold, brave, seen, heard, and paid well. I also run Pegeen.club, where every day you get inspired, motivated, all about confidence, leadership, business, sales, prosperity, and motivation. Short clips that infuse you with the energy to take on the day and build your subconscious so you could get what you want to have in life.
Thank you,
And
Pagane. All right, we're going to bring our guest back to the front and have you share how people can reach you.
Good.
And while he's coming back, I want to just let everybody in on a secret. And the secret is this: Joe Pici is the king of subliminal seduction and the power of the subconscious mind, because he had just planted subliminally in every single one of us who's listening a little seed, a little seed. And the seed is this: if you want to make more sales, you need to connect with him. And the reason why I did the exercise earlier is because I know this about him. He would call me every single week, right, Joe?
Every week.
He knew that I was up at the same time he was up. Didn't sell anything, just how are you? Just checking on you for years, right, Joe?
You know what? I still do, but you and I are harder to get in touch, but it's just one of the things we do.
But my point I want to make is this. So when you think about how the subconscious mind work and this principle, it is so serious. It is so deep. I want to challenge every single one of you who's listening. If you have a job and you're a professional or you're an entrepreneur, please understand the power of your own subconscious mind and how to control it, and not allow yourself to be controlled by others. All right. Especially when it's negative. So, Joe, if you can share how people can reach you.
Absolutely. First thing, I have a gift for everybody. Pagene, get out your phone. Get out your phone. Go to the text box and put one word, Sales Edge, SALESEDGE. Make sure it's one word. Some phones break it up. Then text it to 55678. That'll take you to a Pici and Pici link. It'll take you to a splash page. There's all kind of free downloads. There's a link to sellmorevirtually.com, but right now go there and you'll get a free complete webinar course on the 9 essentials of sales success. The best way to get in touch with me is for a complimentary cup of Joe. Call me 407-947-2590. I'm on LinkedIn. Love to catch up with you. But folks, reach out. Our hallmark products. We have a 3-day sales boot camp. We have a 3-day business of speaking, training, and coaching boot camp. Okay. And we have so many things, but the most important thing is our focus to help you get in front of your target market, increase your closing ratios, gain an unfair advantage over your competition, and in this environment, recapture lost revenue.
Wow. Now we know why I use 55678. And if you want to connect with me, you can also use the same number and just put "and" in the chat box. Joe, thank you so much for that reminder, because that's exactly where I got it from. Text the number 55678 and put the name "and" in the chat box. But you can also text that same number again and put the word "Sales Edge," and you will get Joe's program, which I just did, Joe, and I got it on my phone already. My name again is Ann McNeil, and I am, yes, I am the master builder, helping you to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And if you desire greater clarity in understanding how to use your subconscious mind with clarity and self-confidence, you can connect with me in my Clarity coaching program called McNeil Factor Clarity Mastermind. You can connect with us by going to annmcneil.com/coaching. And next week, we will be back here again on this phenomenal program, sharing with you this principle as we close out the month with our masterclass. And you do want to make sure you're on time and you have your book and you have your questions, because it is going to be another phenomenal program. Joe, thank you so very much. And to all of our listeners and our
Thank you.
co-hosts, we thank you, and we'll see everybody back here next week, same time, same channel. Thank you.